Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome to all of our viewers and welcome to our guest once again, Farhan Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, brother Farhan.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How is everything with you? How is Chicago?
It's been well. Chicago.
Sorry, that wasn't supposed to happen. That was an accidental click. You said Chicago, Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago Sharif, right? It's a
Chicago
really
Sharif, yeah.
beautiful city. We just got voted I think the best city in the US again.
Okay, I think I don't know what people were smoking when they voted, but we'll move on. But last week we had a discussion on premarital, and we discussed the importance of it, and inshallah we'll continue our discussions about marital. We'll continue discussions. One of the issues we have in society these days is people taking too long to get married, right? And really compounding the amount of ideas they have and the problems they have. What is as a premarital, marital, you deal with all these things. What do you feel like is one of the problems why people are taking so long to get married?
One of the reasons why people are waiting to get married is because, there's a lot of different reasons, and I'll go through a few of them. One is because they probably have not seen a healthy marriage themselves, right? So now they are scared to get married because they think that, their marriage might be a failure. I knew this one person, their parents got divorced, and, when they got divorced, they didn't even speak to the children about it, right? So now he's scarred from marriage. So he was just delaying it just because. And even though he found a really nice woman for himself, he didn't want to get married to her because he thought he would not be able to live up to her expectations, right? Apparently, some family members, they told him that, hey, listen, you got to make a decision. You can't just keep stringing this woman along. And now, we'll see how things go. But that's one example. Another example was a person, like, because of their parents' marriage, they never want to get married. You probably hear this from other people. They're like, I don't want to get married because I didn't see a healthy marriage for my parents. So why should I do this myself? Right. So that's, not seeing a healthy marriage. A lot of people, they don't want to get married themselves. The other thing why people delay marriage is because they just don't know what they want, right? They themselves have never sat down and said, okay, what is it that I want from a person? So then now they keep talking to people, right? Finding a little bit, oh, you know what? This person has these good qualities. And then this person has these good qualities. And then they're trying to find somebody that has all of these qualities in one. And so now they're never satisfied. And now they finally find somebody that's good, but they're like, oh, well, they find fault within them. So that's another reason what's delaying people from marriage. And then obviously what's also delaying people from marriage is you hear like parents stopping them as well. Parents are saying, well, no, you have to be financially well off. You have to be financially set. But you're doing a detriment for your children because the longer they delay, the more pickier they become as well. And so now you see people that they're like, oh, well, I waited so long, so now I'm going to try finding the perfect person. And then we have to think about, okay, what about zina? What about the sins that they're getting themselves into? Are we really thinking that people in today's age are waiting, to for marriage? If we're thinking that, then we're kind of, you know, it's a joke on us, right? The FYI, Family and Youth Institute, they did research on this where they said that 53% of Muslim males and 47% of Muslim females have had premarital sex in college, right? That's almost one out of every two. So the longer we delay, the more sins that we're allowing the person to get into. So, there's probably more reasons we could delve into, but I don't want
Yeah,
to take.
yeah, subhanallah. Yeah, subhanallah. That's fine. Okay, so like I had said last week, we're gonna go over some of the scenarios, and I'm gonna read some of them out to you. Okay, so there was this one that I came across. It was in a Facebook group. Um, I'm not gonna take the name of the group, but this is the scenario. I am not attracted to my husband. I'm 23 years old, and my husband is 25. We got married 9 months ago. And he is absolutely an amazing husband. I'm really blessed to have him. One of the issues is this marriage that is ruining everything for me is that I'm not attracted to him at all. Initially,
Mm,
I was getting married to him. I didn't find him attractive, but he had everything you look for in a man: strong and Deen, mature, respectful, kind, loving, generous. Because of this, I gave him a chance and thought that maybe I would develop the attraction later and help him look more attractive to me. However, now years passed and I still can't get over this because I'm not attracted to him. I constantly feel anxious and depressed. I feel as though I'm the problem and I feel ashamed of leading him on for this long. I've considered divorcing him because I feared this will cause issues in my Deen later. I've spoken to my husband about this issue in a respectful manner. I explained why I feel so down all the time and sometimes even feel disgusted when he touches me. He took this well and wants to change himself for the better. He has started going to the gym consistently and dressing more to my taste. He asked me to give him one more year. And if things don't change, he will respect my wishes. He really loves me, and I know he will do anything to make the marriage work. But I just do not have that attraction for him. Initially, I thought attraction didn't matter and you should look for Deen and other valuable things in a person, like his character. But now I feel miserable and not considering this. I want to protect my marriage and be with him for life, but how do I change this? Please
Mm.
advise me.
Okay, so we could spend the whole time just on this one scenario, right? Because there's
Yeah.
so many different facets that we have to talk about, right? So many different things that we have to dissect over here. I mean, number one, they said that, okay, well, I think, well, they said, you should marry for a Deen, right? And yes, there's four reasons that the Prophet ﷺ to get said to get married for, and the Deen is the best. But what happens often is that we forget about personality. We forget about other things that make us attracted to a person. You know, and look, I had a friend one time. He told me I can't marry anybody that's ugly, and I said that okay, why not? And he's like, because I will not treat them properly. He knew himself that he would not be able to treat a person that he's married to that he's not attracted to, right? Like he's married to and is not attractive because he knew he would treat her wrong. And I respected him for that because of the fact that he knew himself. And so sometimes people get married because of Deen, but then they realize that okay, the person is lacking in all of these other things that I really value. Like you go to the masjid, right? And mashallah, I mean, think about, let's be real, how many people actually go and pray inside the masjid? I mean, out of the community is probably a very small fraction,
Very
right?
small amount. Yeah.
So now you got this connection with them because of Deen. But would you ever hang out with them outside of the masjid? Do you ever call them up? Do you ever say, "Hey, let's go grab a bite or anything"? No. I mean, you like them because you are attracted to them because of Deen. You're there at the masjid. You say salam to them, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be your friends, right? So what am I saying is that yes, you're like Deen is something to look for, but also personality because yes, who am I going to hang out with? Who am I going to get along with? Who am I going to, like to talk to? You know, that's something that we have to take into consideration. And also attractiveness, because if you are not attracted to your spouse, you got to realize that, okay, you wake up the next day, all right, and then you look at the person, you're like, oh my God, what did I marry? Your mood is not going to be good. You're not going to be happy. I had this one person, I knew this guy, he married somebody and then he had intimacy with her, right? And then the next day he calls me up and he's like, oh my God, what did I do? Right? Because he was just, he really wanted to get married. And now he realized he's not attracted to the person because he was thinking what in a different manner, right? So these are all things you have to know yourself before you get married, you know. And Deen is important, but take into other things into consideration. Now, the other part of it is that okay, what is making you unattracted to your spouse, right? And the good thing is, okay, she talked to her husband about it because if you don't talk to him and you just divorce, I feel like that's worse because now they never know why did you divorce me? What did I do? Right now, if you at least tell me, I could do something about it. You might not be able to change your facial features, right? But maybe there's something that you could do. Like sometimes people, like you mentioned, they start dressing better. A lot of men, for instance, when they first get married, but you see them before they get married and you see them after they get married, right? Their wives have done, started doing a lot of shopping for them, making them more attractive. Or some people start realizing that, hey, I got to start dressing better. Number one, why is it that we don't dress up for our spouses? We wear pajamas or we just wear, what slacks or whatever it might just be within the house. We need to look attractive to our spouses and dress up nice, just how we go to wedding. Like when you go for a wedding, how do you dress up? You make sure you're dressed up nice. You wear the watch. And for the women, they wear the makeup. They do all of their things. But inside the home, everybody's just like slouching around, right? They're in the
You
pajamas.
don't
They're
wear those
wearing torn.
princess to weddings, do you?
What?
You don't
No,
wear the
no.
princess
I'm
on
just giving
wedding
an
dress?
example. You should dress up for the masjid as well. This one
Yeah.
sheikh actually said that. What? You're breaking up a lot. Sorry.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, so I was saying you should dress up for the masjid as well. There's one sheikh that said that, you're presenting yourself to Allah, right? If you're supposed to go, somewhere very important, you would dress up properly. Why isn't it, this is the most important place you're going to go is the house of Allah. Why aren't we dressing up for the house of Allah, right? So, but I'm giving examples. Like whenever we go out, we want to present ourselves nice, but why not inside the home to our spouses as well? I'm not saying you have to doll yourself up, wear makeup. I'm not saying that the guy has to do all of these things, but present yourself nicely, wear nice clothes, you know, look attractive to your spouse, right? So that's the second thing. But the third thing is working out. We let our bodies go. Like let's be honest here. We like it when a person stays in shape. We like it when a person, looks healthy, and so forth. But if they got a like that dad belly or a woman's not taking care of herself, that's gonna affect how we think about our spouse, right? Because look, yes, we should lower our gaze. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran to lower our gaze. And this is something that's so important because the more you look at the opposite gender, the less you will be happy with what you have. Because the reality is there's always going to be somebody that's more attractive out there, right? But if my spouse is looking nice and they're taking care of themselves, why I won't have that urge to look at somebody else, right? I won't have as much of an urge to look at somewhere else because I like what I'm looking at. But if I don't like what I'm looking at, it's going to give me more of an urge to look somewhere else, right? Not saying that it's correct to do, but that's just the human psyche. So we have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves and not making excuses saying that, oh, it's too hard, it's this, it's that. No, this is the namana Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us our bodies, and we should make sure that we're looking good for our spouses as well. And we will feel good and they will like what they see as well.
Subhanallah.
So,
That's very good. That's some good points. Just
yeah.
trying to look good for yourself and for your spouse. That's some really good pointers for people who are looking to get married or people who are married and they may be struggling in their marriage with, the physical aspect. Everything else is good and maybe, they could just take care of a few things and improve at least that.
Yeah, and what I would say also for the husband, I mean, like, look, the thing is for this woman is I understand we have to look at it from both perspectives. Like, yes, we could say, man, this woman is ungrateful, right? But at the same time, she knows that she's not going to be happy, and in her unhappiness she's not going to treat her husband properly, right? And if you don't treat your spouse properly, that is a sin as well, because they have a right upon us. But then as for the husband, it's we feel bad for him because he might be a great person, but hey, his wife is not attracted to her. So each person could do their part in trying to make this marriage work, right? He could, not, besides doing all of these things, okay, what is it that else needs that she would like in this marriage, so I could do that, so she would feel like it would make up for different aspects, right? And then also for her, it's like, okay, where can I see appreciation within him? But I mean, I would say, and I know people might agree or might disagree, but at the end of it is that, look, if they cannot come to a conclusion, if they cannot come to something that is satisfactory for them, I mean, the reality is, people should not be in marriages that they don't want to be in either, right? I'm not here to promote divorce, but I'm not going to tell a person to be an unhappy marriage, especially if they're young and now they have to live with like that for the next 40, 50 years of their life, right? Everybody has to make their own choices and do what's best for them. Now you should take into consideration, okay, do I have kids? Do I have, like, what are the impacts of everything as well, right? But you know, and it goes more into like individual case and talking to the person, understanding. But at the same time, I mean, if you're 30 years old and now you're unattracted to your spouse, you don't have kids, and you're like, man, I'm going to be in this marriage for the next 40, 50 years, that's not also fair for that person as well.
Yeah.
They should have known that before they got married, but, you know, that everybody deserves a happiness.
Subhanallah. So the next one is an interesting one. I think I've shared this one with you before. This is from Somali marriage like Reddit. Um, I've been married for 4 months. We're both Somali, raised in Canada. My wife is very affectionate to the point that it's suffocating. When I come home from work, she's at home. She runs over to me, hugs and kisses me. Then a lot of times she wants to sit with me. Then she wants to cuddle, watch Netflix every single night. She also tells me she loves me like multiple times a day. She's very sweet, don't get me wrong, but all the affection is not something I'm used to. It can be a bit much at sometimes, and it comes off as childish. The other day, she asked if I could rest my head on her lap so she could give me a head massage. It felt nice, and she tried to kiss me on my face. That's when I got up because it was too much. She looked hurt, which I felt bad about. How do I tell her to tone things down without hurting her feelings? And then somebody wrote, "It's your humble servant God asking you to give me what you gave this goofy servant."
You know, this is very rare that men often complain about this, because usually it's the opposite. They don't get it, right?
Yeah,
And it's kind of, you should, first of all, if I mean, look, I understand everybody is different, and I'm not here to judge a person and all that, but we're trying to have a little bit of fun here. The reality is, man, subhanallah, that person should be making like a lot of dua to Allah and be praying a lot of nawafil, right? Because most people complain that their spouses don't do these things for them, are not affectionate, and they're not, massaging their heads and saying "I love you" and all of that. And this is one of the biggest complaints that I see within marital couples, is that they're always saying that, my spouse doesn't say "I love you." They don't give me a hug. They're not excited to see me. So this is a blessing in itself, and that's how we should look at it. We should change our perspective of it and think that, man, subhanallah, my spouse cares for me and loves me so much that they want to be affectionate with me, that they're excited to see me, right? Is changing the perspective about it, you know. But the other thing is that, fine, if a person, it's becoming a little bit too much for them, maybe they could like respectfully talk to their spouse and say, hey, I really appreciate that you do all of these things, but you know sometimes I just need a little bit of space, right? I just need a little bit of space so that I could um give you more of me, right? If I feel always suffocated, right, then instead of making us closer, what's going to happen is it's going to make us more distant, because I'm going to feel like I need that space from one another, right? So it's just about communication as well. Um, and what I would say to the wife is that, don't take it offensively, because some people, they just brought up differently, right? People are brought up in the households where hugging is normal. Some people are brought up in the households where, it's very odd. It's like when a person says, hugs somebody from their family or says, I love you, you know, but we should try to normalize it as much as possible as well. We look at the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, and we look at his how he was with his wives, and they were very affectionate, even so much so that the Prophet ﷺ would put his head in Aisha radiallahu anha's lap. He would put his lips where her lips were. We even have a hadith about how it was in the bedroom, right? And so forth. So this is, what I tell people is that we need to be more affectionate towards one another, because one of the main reasons that for marital discord is a lack of intimacy between husband and wife. And when people are becoming more intimate with each other, you feel that bond and that closeness, so fine, figure out what it is that makes you uncomfortable, right? But and then talk about it and figure it out, because now if you keep rejecting your spouse, now they might feel like, okay, I don't want to do this at all, and now you might end up regretting the fact that they stopped, right? So maybe there's something internally wrong with me, and that I need to figure out, why do I feel this way, And not that, okay, it's childish that my spouse is doing these things, but looking at it from a different perspective. It's all about how we think in here and changing the way we think. Not that it's childish, but man, this person's so loving, right? Man, this person cares for me. This is their way of showing love. And then trying to figure out that balance, inshallah.
Subhanallah, good advice. Good advice. Now, the last scenario I wanted to go over with you was the one we have discussed many times, and this is I put out a video this week that we are going to discuss this one. This is the one where there's two muftis on a program in Pakistan. There's a Sama TV program, and the two muftis are on TV, and people call into the show and they discuss their problems. And a lady calls into the show and she says that I'm married. I have a very good husband. He loves me a lot. He does everything for me. He takes care of me. He takes care of me fiscally. He does everything. There's no complaints, right? But I work a job, and at work I fell in love with somebody. And
Mm,
can you give me a wazifa, like some sort of prayer that I can make this prayer, so I don't want to break his heart. So he gives me a divorce without breaking his heart. Can you give me some wazifa? And the Mufti Sahiban are just like sort of like in utter shock and shame. And so one of the Mufti Sahib tells her that, sometimes the heart wants something which is not good for it. And he's like, do you think that a house that is started from the ruins of another home will be blessed or not? And that's where the clip ends. What do you think of this scenario, and what do you make of this scenario? As a counselor coach, somebody comes
yeah.
and says this to you, what would you say?
What the first thing that comes into my mind is that there's probably some infatuation here, right? They just
Okay.
have this, like, you get tired in your relationship, and now it's like something exciting, something new. Oh man, this person is flirting with me. They're talking to me. You know, you feel that excitement, right? But okay, let's just take the scenario that you marry this person, right? How will that marriage be? Will they treat you properly? Will that excitement just go away? Will you just, you realize how life would end up being with them, right? You know what your spouse offers you right now, and if you're telling me that everything is good, then alhamdulillah, like then what's you got to figure out, okay, what's not working so that we could work on it, you know? But if you're constantly like in your marriage, if you got to figure out what is not working. But in this scenario, you know 1 second please. All right, sorry about that. What In this scenario, like what I'm thinking is that there's just something that the person is missing, right? And now they're getting it from a coworker at work. But again, you don't know what that marriage would be like with them. Once all that infatuation wears off, how will they be with you? So you have something great going on. Let's try fixing that over here, because what you don't want to do is end up regretting it. And what I see is people, like, they jump out of one relationship, they get divorced, they marry somebody else, and now they realize, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, right? They're just thinking with other body parts, basically. And they're not thinking rationally, they're not thinking logically what's going on. And so, you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, has made our spouses for us, right? We know that they come from the body parts of one another, right? The ribs from each other. So why not try working on that relationship first? And if things are not going well, then okay, fine. We could decide from there. But asking for wazifa, asking for something to break up your marriage, where you're not even saying that the person is a bad, like he's mistreating you, there's something wrong with us that we need to
He's
figure
a
out.
good husband. She's even acknowledging he's a good husband.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is in this world is that I understand that sometimes we just want that excitement, right? We want that. We just feel like it's so bland and boring and stuff like that. But why not? Maybe there's something that we could do to make that excitement in our marriage. Maybe there's something that we could do to spice it up a little bit, right? if our spouses are not flirting, like one thing I worked with some couples on, um, just even yesterday was, okay, how do we bring that fire and that passion back into the relationship? Do you feel like that fire passion is in a relationship? If not, why? Right? What can we do for one another to bring that fire and passion in the relationship? Why don't we flirt with one another? Why don't we send racy text messages to each other? There's nothing wrong with that between a husband and wife. If they want to send messages and say, hey, you're beautiful, hey, and like say, man, I can't wait to come home tonight or anything, what's wrong with that? Why are we so shy? And we think, oh, we have to have so much haya and all of these things. But I mean, you're breaking your marriage, right? You're not doing anything that's going to make the person feel like they want to be in this marriage. We could get intimate with one another. We could see each other in the most vulnerable stage, but yet, oh, I can't talk to you in this manner. That's just weird thinking. We have to change the way we think about things and understand if we're not doing anything haram, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it halal between a husband and wife, then why not? Right? So why not do the same things that are exciting us over here with this person within our marriage and try it? And I often find that when we break the ice and we talk about these things, people find like the happiness again within their marriages, right? So that's something that what I would say to this person. The grass is
Subhanallah.
greener, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, Subhanallah, we have Farhan. For a higher rate, you can get for the brothers. You can get a class for Farhan. Will teach you how to flirt with your wife, but only for the wife. He's not going to teach brothers who are unmarried how to flirt.
Don't worry, I'll make them not just flirt. I'll make their wives fall in love with them.
Oh, okay. That's a good pitch right there. It's like struggling with your marriage will help you fall in love again.
Hey,
Um,
and also, I mean, look, there's many women that have came to me and said, "What? How do I get my husband to fall in love with me?" I mean, it goes both ways,
yeah,
right? And they want to know from a man's perspective, and that's why we're here, right?
yeah.
Like, we're here to help people and make them understand from the other person's perspective of what that person may want, right?
Yeah, subhanallah. But inshallah, that is going to be time up for us for this week. Inshallah, find us again next week, same place, similar time. And we're going to be talking about marriage, marriage and some of the problems, marital discord, and, going over some scenarios related to marriage. These were just some, scenarios which I had found and I thought that we should ask Farhan about, sort of aiding how to make sure that the marriages are going well, whether they're in the early stage, later stages, outside influences, stuff like that. And we really appreciate Farhan for his time. Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, look forward to seeing you again next week, Farhan.
Like Sam, I just want to correct the hadith is
Yeah,
from the
go
crooked
ahead.
rib. I think I said the broken rib, right, or something.
Okay. No, I don't think you said broken or crooked. I think you
Okay,
just said the rib.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
But no,
okay.
no. Jazakallah khair for clarifying the hadith. Um,
All right.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The light.